Okay, hello again everyone. Today's topic, economics. Now, this is what we're going to cover: the GDP, economic indicators, business cycle, economic theory, fiscal versus monetary policy, and interest rates. Now, this is just touching the surface of economics, but this is the bulk of what you need to know for the test. There's probably another 20-30%, but I don't want to do a whole hour on economics. I'll bore you. I'm trying to get this in your head, just the way you need to know it. Let's talk about GDP. Gross domestic product. Okay, what does it have? It is our personal consumption. But what of? It's not our consumption of imports. It's products that we make here. It also includes, from U.S. manufacturer, or food, or, dairy, or anything. It just doesn't have to be built. Also includes foreign investment. Money that we take and send overseas to invest. It's going to enrich us here. Okay, and that's the goal. Exports. Something else. Government spending. So be careful when you hear somebody touting that, hey, the GDP went up. You make sure that government spending in the categories that are counted didn't go up too much. We don't want the GDP just to be government spending. We'll then end up a second world country. But the idea on these is to understand this is happening here. This is what's built here. Now, there's one other, and this is, gross domestic product. Let's take it versus gross national product. What gross national product adds to this is manufacturing from foreign companies inside the United States. Foreign, I've got the G and the N back. Foreign in the USA. So that would include Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Hyundai. All the companies that basically have operations and manufacturing here, but they're foreign companies. They're headquartered in Japan or China or Korea or the European Union. That's added to make the GNP, gross national product. What you're going to see most of the time is GDP, the domestic product. Okay. Let's also take a look at the next topic. I want to talk to you about economic indicators. Okay. There's leading indicators. You should be following in your book or writing this down in some format. But I'm not going to list all of them. Well, first of all, they'll put me to sleep. And I'm standing, so I don't want to go fall right down. But what do these do? And the next one would be coincident indicators. And then the next one, lagging. forecast. This forecasts, the leading indicators forecast. It doesn't say, hey, it's going to change. It's just saying, based on all these items, and there's, there's probably a dozen items. Do all of them have to change for that to be so? No, a majority. If there's 13 indicators, then 7 changing would show the future. Or even if they didn't change, 7 or a majority of them are this way. Well, that's what we got now. Hey, guess what? That's the future. It's not going to change. These are going to tell us if we are on the same path or if there is going to be a change. It forecasts. Coincidence, these indicators, once again, a majority of the various indicators that are called coincident, basically is going to confirm. It's going to confirm the situation that we're in. If everything's positive, if a majority of them are positive, moving upwards in a good manner, then we've got a positive. It's going to confirm a positive situation. Lagging indicators change. Something in the future is going to change. It's going to go in a certain way. If these all stay the same, then no, there isn't any. We go for forecasting to find out what's going to happen in the future. We're in the future now. We now look at coincident indicators, and if they stay in the direction here, they're confirming it. Or maybe it's, if they're different, if there's conflict here, wait a minute, this is a little different, something's going on. Lagging may be needed to take a look. Are we going to have a change? That's going to be dictated by lagging indicators. Okay. Now, for the test, if you're taking a test with, or if you're just learning these, if you're taking a test, they're going to list 4 items. All the following are lagging indicators except. Okay, they're all indicators. Which one is a coincidence or a coincidence or the other, the leading. So yes, you're going to recognize all of them. That doesn't mean they're all the same type. So get an idea of what they're looking at when you get into the economics and the indicators. Next on the line is the business cycle. And we see this I've been seeing this I'm 62 years old, so I've been seeing it for about 47. In my later years in high school, I started seeing this. So what do we got here? We got expansion. We got peak. Contraction. Trough. Does this look about right? This is probably what you've seen. And it's wrong. It's supposed to be wrong. It's supposed to get you to think, why would anybody want to be into a business cycle or an economy that does this? Nobody. They have a brain. Here's the thing. This is the way you want it to be. Whether for a business or for the economy, you want it this way. I'm not saying we don't want any contractions or anything. We're going to get them. Can you see? I want the peaks to be higher. I want the troughs to be higher on the next trough. That is a growing economy. That is a growing business. If you look at what a company like 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, 3M, you ever figure out how your Post-it note came about? 3M invented that, just like Scotch tape. But it was a failure. Something as huge as a Post-it note was a failure. It's hilarious. Think about it. They had a chemist work on a new glue, and the formula didn't work very well. But Well, it's good enough to put on the board and stick something on it and it'll stay there, a piece of paper, so I can read it. That way I don't have to have all these magnets all over the place. That's what 3M developed. A failed glue. They wanted to develop a different glue, but in fact, they developed a glue that it wasn't very strong, but it was strong enough to hold paper. It was strong enough to put paper up against something or stick it on a wall. And bingo, another part of the industry developed. So what happens to a company like 3M? What is their philosophy? A lot of companies have picked it up. They want growth, most definitely. But they have a goal that the profits from 60% of their profit has to come, I believe, from products developed in the previous 3 years or 4 years. That kind of a mentality. So R&D is vital. They have to continually innovate. And what does it look like? Okay, when there's a little slump in a product line, they're hoping that the innovation raises that trough so that it can recover and sales can go up again. A little bit of a peak, okay, down, oh, well, they want the new products to go up. Business, economy, it all works together if they let it. Okay? R&D, research and development. It doesn't mean rinky-dink like sometimes, but economic theory. You got Keynesian. Sorry about that. I butchered his name. I don't agree with what he says, but I don't have to butcher the name, do I? Sorry about that. John? There we go. Keynesian theory. Then there's the monetarist. And then there's supply side. These are the three basic economic theories that you need to know. This was done by John Keynesian. And he simply said, hey, we need the government. We need them to tax us. We need them to tell us what we need to do. We need them to spend money to help this economy. We need them to dictate what happens. So, government drives economy. Okay? Monetarist, this is done by Milton Friedman. Great mind. Federal Reserve. Okay, he wants the Federal Reserve to control it. He wants the Federal Reserve to come in and say, we have to control the economy, we have to control the money supply. And that's what the Federal Reserve does. Okay, the Federal Reserve controls the money supply. The M1, the M2, the M3. Look it up. That's part of your job. I can't go through it all. Now, they dictate how much money is available in the economy, how they want to tighten it, or if they want to loosen the money and let it be more available. They do that by adjusting interest rates, by increasing reserves or decreasing reserves, or decreasing the interest rates, right? Or buying and selling U.S. securities. Okay? Now, the supply side is basically stay out of business. Government should stay out of business. They don't know how to run a lemonade stand anyway, so why should they dictate the business all the time? Certainly, they understand the need for regulation. Nobody's going against that. And certainly, they need taxation. But take it easy on the business side. We're the ones who provide the jobs, not you. That's supply side economics. Minimal intrusion of government in business. They can regulate it all they want, but show some moderation in most cases. Here, oh, they want to lock up the CEOs. They want to basically control the economy completely. They want to tax, and they want government to do the spending. They think that's going to help. Oh, it's part of the GDP. Get over it. I mean, there's a limit. There's some of everything needed. I'm not going to deny that. But it can't be all this. It can't be all this either, because we need the regulation and proper taxation. And in the middle, we have that anyway right now, the monetaries. Okay, so now we're looking at fiscal and monetary. Fiscal policy, monetarist. This is done by Congress and the President. Laws, taxes. This is done by the Federal Reserve. Okay? Chicken or the egg? Which one are you? Which one do you think came first? The chicken or the egg? This is clear cut. A lot of people don't think it. A lot of people will ask for it to be a different way when it's convenient for them. But fiscal policy comes first. Fiscal policy develops the budget, develops the taxation, develops the laws and the need for expenditures, the listing, the programs. They then send that out, that budget and everything out, and that law out to the budget committee, independent budget committee, or a bipartisan, whatever you want to call it. Then, copy gets down to the monetary people, the Federal Reserve. They're going to adjust interest rates. They're going to adjust the money supply. They're going to buy or sell securities as needed to accommodate the wishes of Congress and the President. If you go to YouTube, maybe you'll find it. Look for the Bernanke and Congress debate. It was a questionnaire. They called him up against Congress, and they were asking him. It happened after, in the Obama administration, when the Congress went Republican. And then there were all these changes that were introduced. And it turned out Congress called Bernanke up and said, don't you think this is wrong? Don't you think that we should do something different? What about all these changes? And Bernanke stood his ground and he said, in moderation, over time, yeah, it's good. Well, we can't do all this and this all at once? No. But that's not what's been laid out. Over time, yes, change is good. Do it this way, this way, this way. It can work. Can work, all this stuff. So they're fighting back and forth on him. But he said, wait a minute. I'm just doing my deed. I'm just adjusting interest rates. I'm just adjusting the money supply based on what you're doing in Congress. If you don't, what are you going to do? Just print up money? Take it back when you don't, confiscate it later on? That's my job. Not to print the money, but to regulate the flow of the money that you're going to print, that you're going to put into the economy, that you're going to require to do everything that you want. That's fiscal policy written. This is laws, taxes. Federal Reserve, they can't make law. They can make rules and regulations, but that's it. Monetary policy. Okay. What's next? The last one is interest rates. On interest rates, what do we need to know? There's a few that are going to be on the test. You're probably going to get 3 of them. So what do we have? We have the prime rate. We have the discount rate. We also have the Fed fund rate. And this is where a lot of people get confused and mess up on the test. You don't want to lose 2 points because, or 4 points, because you switch these two. Broker call. Could also be just a broker loan rate, however you want to look into it. And then LIBOR, L-I-B-O-R. Okay, the prime rate, best commercial customers, not us, not individually, the best commercial customers of the bank get the prime rate. Let's say it's 4% for whatever. If you and I apply for a credit card or a bank loan, what are they going to do? They're going to say, well, we're going to charge you prime rate plus 7. It's all going to depend on our credit rating, right? Right. And the type of money we're looking for. The discount rate and the Fed fund rate. Oh, that needs a talking to. Discount rate. Let's take a look at this. Set by the Federal Reserve. I know you think I messed up, but the discount rate is set up by the Federal Reserve. It's the rate they charged member banks. When a member bank wants to borrow money, they get charged the discount rate, and then they mark it up to us. So there's no real reason why a bank should go out of money, go out of business. Just bad management, just stupid. Because do they use our Christmas card money, our checking deposit? No. That's not what they loan out. How many millions of customers would we need? You know? Nice little bank, and all of a sudden it's doing this big skyscraper. That's not how many Christmas, clubs there are. The Christmas club doesn't put that much money, neither do the checking and the savings accounts. Come on. They borrow the money on the discount rate from the Federal Reserve. They're a member bank. Or some other federal program. It's all about markup. They mark everything up from there. If they want to do housing, now, the Federal Reserve requires them to put so much reserves, right? Monetary reserves into the bank, Federal Reserve Bank. That is based on deposits, yes. That's how the Federal Reserve determines how much reserves a bank is required to put up. By how many deposit dollars are at the bank. Which brings me to the next one. Fed fund rate. Okay, remember the reserves? Let's say Chase, KeyBank. Let's say KeyBank had a lot of deposits. They did a promotion. And it came down to they didn't have enough reserves. It's going to take them a day to get the money to the Federal Reserve, but it has to show up by the end of today. Chase has excess reserves. Chase will loan to KeyBank on the Fed fund rate between banks. It's what one bank charges another to meet the Federal Reserve requirements. Piece of cake, right? Okay, Fed funds meeting the Fed fund reserve requirements. The discount rate is charged by the Federal Reserve to member banks. Let's finish up the last couple, then I'll let you go. Don't go away now. Hold on. So the broker loan rate, or the broker call loan rate, margin. For margin accounts, a local bank, a commercial bank, or a bank under the, basically the broker-dealer is a customer of that bank. they're going to charge the broker-dealer so much for borrowing money to pay for transactions on margin. The broker-dealer doesn't pay that 50%. The bank ponies up 50% to the brokerage firm. The brokerage firm has you sign an agreement for margin saying that they can take it as collateral, and they mark it up. And that's how you get interest, and you get charged. Maybe the broker co-loan rate is 5%. Maybe it depends on how much. The more you borrow on margin, the lower the rate is. Okay? But typically it starts at 9.9%. And it goes up from there, from what the broker-dealer is charging you. Now, if your margin is bad, if the stocks went in the opposite direction, the wrong direction, you're losing equity. Once it gets down to a certain equity and you hear about a maintenance call, margin call, oops, that's the brokerage firm looking after their requirement from the bank. They got to sell you out. They got to get the money to the bank now. Okay, that's that. LIBOR, L-I-B-O-R, London Interbank. London Interbank, there's 5 or 6 major banks in England, very strong in Europe. Well, this is the rate they charge each other, short term. And it had a big scandal about them fixing rates. Well, why wouldn't they fix rates? They're the banks. They can charge what they want. Sheesh. But there's some regulation about it. So that's economics. If you have questions, contact me. I'm Gregory at FinClasses. Have a good day.